Welcome back to Scrap Cooking. I'm Harriet Clooney. Here we are in the beautiful Urban Element kitchen, and this is the show where we show you how to not throw out flavor and to use every little scrap that you've got and save a couple pennies while we're at it. So today's episode is going to be some bone broth using your leftover Thanksgiving chicken or turkey. Right before we get started, let's hit the like button and the subscribe button, and then you'll be up to date on new recipes and new episodes, and you can go back and watch your favorites over and over again. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the family's left. You've got a pile of dishes. You've got a whole bunch of leftovers, but you also have the carcass of your turkey or chicken, as we have in this case. And what you could put it in the compost, but that would be a waste in my opinion. That's super classic to make a stock bone broth out of your leftover carcass, and it makes this beautiful rich broth. So we can do it two ways. We can make just like a stock that we would use for cooking, but we can also make a bone broth. And the difference is that we add a little bit of cider vinegar into the broth, and we let it go longer so that we're really trying to get all the nutrients and the minerals and the vitamins and the collagen, converting it into gelatin, into our broth before we strain it. And the cider vinegar is what will actually help extract those nutrients from the bones into the broth that we're gonna consume and drink like a warm hug. My grandmother, after Thanksgiving dinner, would just put the carcass in water and just turn it on low and let it go overnight. And that's pretty much what we're gonna do. So we've got our carcass, we've got a pot, and depending on how many people and how big your turkey was, it will depend on how big your pot is. So this one's just a little one, so we just need a little pot. But we're gonna put it in there, all the bones, any of the little bits, we want all of it. And then we are going to add 1 tablespoon of cider vinegar. This one is our homemade one. And we're just gonna fill it up with cold water. And we use the cold water because it's to start so it doesn't cloud our broth. And we're gonna fill it up pretty much all the way, make sure it's completely covered. And we're gonna bring it up to just before a boil. So on a gas stove, we're gonna put it on high, medium high. We're gonna bring it to a boil, and then we're gonna turn it down all the way to low, and then we're gonna let it sit overnight. In order to extract the gelatin, chicken bones usually take between 4 and 6 hours for making just like a cooking stock. But if we really wanna like keep going and make that like really super densely nutritious bone broth, we're gonna let it go for 12 hours. Now, I also have, as you've seen me talk about time and time again, my little stockpile that I've had in the fridge or the freezer. So I've got some onion peels, some stems, there's some thyme stems in there, some tarragon stems, there's some leek ends, there's some garlic peels, and it could really just be any trim that you would want in a soup. You can put it, all the end bits, in the freezer. I find that the easiest if you don't make stock all that often. And then you can pull it out when you're ready. But I don't add it right away. I actually will wait until tomorrow when we'll finish our broth. So we're gonna add it to the broth right at the end, and then we're just gonna let it go for 45 minutes. So in order to extract things that you need from the vegetables, they take 45 minutes. So you can add it now, but I find that if you add your mirepoix now, then it can cloud the stock. It can make it just a different color. So it's more of an aesthetic thing. So I'm gonna add this 45 minutes, but there's no harm in doing it now. It's personal preference. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna bring this up to a boil, and then we're gonna turn it right all the way down to low, and then we're just gonna leave it overnight. Okay, so now we play the waiting game. Watch pots never boil. Okay, we have achieved boil to low or simmer, and we're gonna leave it overnight. And then in the morning, we will add our mirepoix, our little scrap pile, and cook that for 45 more minutes, and then we will strain it out and have delicious broth to either drink on its own or cook with. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so we've let our carcass of our Thanksgiving dinner in water overnight with a tablespoon of cider vinegar, and now we're gonna add our mirepoix. So really, I'm just gonna add it in. And then we are gonna let it simmer for 45 minutes, and then we're gonna strain it out. And we play the waiting game again. Okay, so it's been 45 minutes. My mirepoix has infused into my stock, and the whole kitchen smells amazing. I love chicken broth. So now we're just gonna strain it and cool it down. So if you've got a strainer, you can use that, or a colander works too. If you don't have a strainer and you have one of these, that works. Or you can even just do it with a spoon if you're just really careful. So that's also really hot. So if I do it with a spoon, I'm just gonna gently pour. Ah. And careful for it not to just fall in there and splash you in the face. There we go. Now all of this stuff can get composted, and we have a lovely stock. So if we want to use it for cooking, I'm not gonna put any salt in it, but if I'm gonna be drinking it as a bone broth, sort of just as is, then I'm gonna add a chef pinch of salt, and going to get a spoon. Give it a good stir. Ah, so good. Yum. Gonna add another pinch of salt, gonna stir it around. Oh yeah, that is delicious. So now we're just gonna cool it down. So if I wanna cool it really fast, I can put some ice in a bigger bowl and some water. That'll help it cool down a lot faster. But if you've got a little bit of time, you can let it cool down to room temperature, and then have your wonderful bone broth ready to go, and have a cup every day. With all of your leftovers, you could use it for like a turkey casserole as well. I mean, there's a million uses for stock, but the bone broth is really nice and super nutritious. We've pulled out all the nutrients. The cider vinegar has helped pull them a bit more out of the bones, and we've got all that nice gelatin, and it's just this delicious feeling of a hug that I love. So thanks so much for watching this episode on using your leftover turkey or chicken bones from your Thanksgiving dinner, and I hope you enjoy your delicious bone broth as much as I will. We'll see you next time.